The Justice Department has had enough with New Jersey's antics. The state has been a leader in la resistance against ICE, not without consequences. The DOJ officially filing suit in response to freshman Governor Mikie Sherrill's executive order banning immigration enforcement in non-public areas of state property. Here's how the governor is responding.
You know, I think what the federal government needs to be focused on right now, instead of attacking states like New Jersey working to keep people safe, is actually training their ICE agents with some modicum of training, like any law enforcement officer in the state of New Jersey would have, so that they can operate better and more safely.
Joining us now is New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew. Congressman Van Drew, thank you for joining us. Mikie Sherrill's executive order, banning ICE from making arrests on state property, is that making residents of New Jersey safer?
Obviously, it's not. Let me be extremely clear here. There are individuals who are illegal but are also criminals. Those are the folks we're after. They're murderers, rapists, drug kingpins, domestic abusers, child abusers, the worst of the worst. And frankly, I put up on my website lists of them that have already been caught and detained in the state of New Jersey. Every day this is going on. So to make it more difficult to get these people, to detain them, and to ultimately deport them is putting the lives and the well-being of New Jerseyans, of good Americans, at stake. It is time that Mikie Sherrill and the left and the Democrats care more about Americans and New Jerseyans that are working their back off to live in this state because taxes, fees, tolls, everything are so high, than worry about people who are illegal and are criminals and would do us harm. It is deeply disturbing what she has done.
Well, Democrats, they always complain about chaos on the streets from ICE, or these guys don't have enough training. Well, you could solve all those problems if you let these agents go to the places where you can easily apprehend criminal, illegal migrants. The solution lies in the hands of the people who complain about the chaos, Congressman. Do they not see that contradiction, or do they just not care?
They don't care. They create the chaos, and then their answer is more chaos, and they think they have another answer which even increases the chaos more. You couldn't make this stuff up. It's just so bad, and it's something that really needs to stop. You know why the ICE agents are having a problem, why they have to be in more public places, why there are crowds around them, by the way, who are kicking their cars in or screaming at them, yelling at them, spitting in their faces, because the crowd control part of the enforcement is supposed to be done by the local municipal and county and state police officers.
Right.
And if they could do what they need to do, they would be certainly able to make sure that the whole process was smoother. I want to keep New Jerseyans and Americans safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also what Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, wants.
Yes.
Hence the DOJ lawsuit, so we're going to follow that against the state of New Jersey. But let's move on to this for now. President Trump at the State of the Union last night urging Congress to swiftly pass Delilah's law. That's named after Delilah Coleman, who was in attendance last night. Listen.
Delilah Coleman was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by Open Borders. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She is now in the first grade learning to walk, and she's here this evening. You are a great inspiration. Please stand up.
Congressman, this sounds like utter common sense to me. What do you think?
It's all common sense. So here's a little 5-year-old girl that's going to be struggling for the rest of her life, but doing amazingly well. Such a brave little girl because of what was done to her. Why again? I mean, I don't get it. The question is, why is the left more concerned about truck drivers that are illegal, that can't read English, that can't read the signs, that don't know how to drive the trucks, that are just given CDLs, which used to be hard to get, but now in some states they give away? Why would we allow them to do it? Once again, The left is more worried about them than our Americans who are vulnerable to get hurt and killed. There is a list of men, women, and children who have been killed by these people on the road. And by the way, everybody should know you're not just limited to that state. So California just gives these CDLs, but they're riding all around the country. It's awful, it's terrible, it's dangerous, it has to stop.
These are the 90-10 issues that I think the president just wins on every time. Congressman, thank you very much. Appreciate your expertise tonight.
Great to see you.
Thank you.